Hi everyone, it's Trishna. So 3 years ago, I posted a video called Why Trump Really Got Elected, a Valentine's Day Message. And in that video, I talk about how all of us, and not just American citizens, but everybody around the world, cast an energetic vote that voted for Trump. And before you come for me, please watch that video in its entirety because it will explain everything that I'm trying to say in much more detail there. So before you come for me, you'll watch that video. But essentially, we cast an energetic vote that allowed Trump to get elected. Now, we didn't specifically cast a vote for Trump to get elected. We cast an energetic vote for change. We wanted somebody to come in and create change in our government as it was. And that is why Trump got elected, because he basically created chaos. He divided the entire country so that we would come together, we would protest, we would stand up for one another and be this unified force to create the change that we have wanted for so long. And everything that is going on right now is that change. It is the indigos coming together, breaking down the old walls of what was once there so that we can destroy it and come together and bring something new that is much more better, that serves everybody and not just the select few. So again, if you haven't already seen that video, I highly suggest that you watch it because it will explain a lot of what has come about and why it all came to be the way that it has. In this video, I want to take a moment and talk about what's going on here, now, in this moment. So that was the reading that I did three years ago, and now let's talk about the energetic situation at present. It's no surprise that we're currently living through a time of a great divide, of divisiveness, of chaos, and of something that I talk a lot about on this channel, duality. And it's permeating every single aspect of our reality, every single layer. And interestingly, but not surprisingly, a lot of the conflict that we're dealing with, a lot of the two polar opposites align pretty much with our 7 main chakras that we all embody. And it's interesting, but it's not surprising because if you're in the spiritual community, you know that as within, so without. So whatever's happening on the external plane, whatever's happening outside of our inner selves, is actually a reflection of what's going on within ourselves. So for everything that's going on outside of us to match up with our inner chakra system makes sense. So I'm going to highlight a little bit of this divisiveness, and then I want to talk about how actually it's really bringing us together, and also some of the mentalities behind those who are really divided within themselves and where that's really going to lead them. So back in 2012, and actually before that, but the peak of everything was around 2012, there was this huge conversation in the spiritual community about ascension and about there being the 3D that we currently live in, and there being a split in the timeline, or the split in our consciousness that allows us to transcend and ascend into the 5D consciousness. And that is currently what is happening right now. And so to me, that represents a crown chakra, the ability for us to access higher dimensions. And currently we're in this place where we are having to make this energetic decision. We are having to make this collective decision of, are we going to live in our current reality? Are we going to live in the system that we have always lived in? Or are we going to ascend? Are we going to transcend? Are we going to move into that 5-dimensional reality? And within the spiritual community, and really within all communities, but I'm going to focus on the spiritual community for right now, there is a segment of that community that is very focused, very caught up in the conspiracy theories, the conspiracy side, where they believe that 5G is reducing our immunity, that vaccines are evil and aren't actually helpful for us, that coronavirus isn't real, and things like that. And I am selecting them in this conversation, even though it is something that can affect anybody, whether you're spiritual or not, is because the spiritual community are the ones who see. They're the ones who see beyond the veil. They're the ones that access their intuition and talk to their guides and have that connection with the divine. And that comes through our pineal gland, our third eye chakra. That is our ability to see beyond the physical, beyond what is actually here. And this divide in the spiritual community, and really everywhere, is symbolic of how we are unable to see. Our third eye as a collective is currently blocked, and that is why there is a divide there. And remember, as within, so without. So if there are issues in the external, a spiritual person, somebody who is involved in the New Age community, is somebody who should understand that and should know, okay, well, if I think these things are bad, I don't need to be spreading that message around where more people will believe it and will create more of that. What I should be doing is working internally on myself, on within, so that I can affect what is without. So that is where there is that divide, where it's about how do you approach the problems in your life, and are you really able to see, and are you really able to connect with that spiritual aspect of yourself and follow those laws when there is a difficult situation. The next divide is between the unheard and the heard. And so this is something that has been around for a while as well. A few years ago, the Me Too movement came out really strong. That was where the unheard were starting to become heard. And again, there's divisiveness there where some people think that Me Too is terrible and some people think that it's great. I personally think it's great because I have worked in the corporate world and I have seen a huge change in my experience where at work, guys thought that they could touch me and that they could impose these requests on me, and now that's gone. I love going to work. I love working with my colleagues because it's actually a respectful environment right now. But there is that divisiveness there. Now that was about women and also men as well, and sexual assault and things like that. And now we have another voice coming up, and it's actually been around as long as time has been, really. But now more of the unheard are starting to become heard with the Black Lives Matter movement. And so there is that divisiveness again here, where the unheard are finally getting a voice, and yet for some reason, a select few don't think that they should. And so there is divisiveness there as well, and that represents the throat chakra of the unheard versus the heard. Going down to more of our sacral area, we can talk about the LGBTQ movement and the rights that they deserve to have because they are humans as well, and how there is divisiveness on that issue. Going down to the root chakra, we can talk about the generous and the not so generous, the generous and the stingy, and that really goes to, we're in a time of a crisis. We're in a time where we need to keep each other safe. We need to be responsible about who we expose ourselves to. And so that means shutting down restaurants. That means shutting down bars. I live in Texas. We opened way too soon. And now we're having to shut down again because our cases are going to record highs again. And fortunately, I already knew this was going to happen. It was pretty obvious. So I've been quarantining, but this is a time when we need to be taking care of each other. And that goes down to money as well, the root chakra, where we have factions of the government who are generous and they want to support the economy. They want to give stipends to people. And then there's factions who don't, who are like, no, I want to give it to big businesses, or I want to give it, to the select few that support me. So there's divisiveness down to the root chakra as well. And then we have the divide, the polarity, the duality between wearing a mask to help others or not wearing a mask because it inconveniences, me. So the mask or the no mask debate. And really all of this boils down to the evolution of our species. And that is at the heart chakra. All this boils down to the duality that is there. To be compassionate or to be selfish. So all of these imbalances that are out there in our reality, again, all come down to a connection to our internal energy field, our internal energy flow. So that's something to take away from this, which is try to look deep within yourself and try to see where maybe you're not really matching up to the ideals that you would like to have. And that's okay, because once you notice that, you can focus on it and you can release it and let it go and change your thought around it and grow as a person and also help our society at large. And remember, this all ties to as within, so without. Now, I also mentioned before I started talking about these divides that we're experiencing on every layer of our external reality as well as our internal reality. I mentioned how all this actually isn't so much about division, because this division is bringing us back to unity, to solidarity. Because as I've talked about on my channel before, duality is there, it's very much there, but everything is a cycle, everything connects. And here's an example of that. So if you think about religion, there are fanaticists who are very much into their religion, and then there are atheists who are very much against the religion. And when you talk to them, they sound like the exact same person, because somebody who's very overly involved in religion thinks that they're the only way, that what they believe is right, and that everybody else is wrong. And when you talk to a staunch atheist, they're the exact same way. You shouldn't believe in anything. You shouldn't believe in God. It's all fake. It's all wrong. Anything to do with that is stupid. You need to believe in my view. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but I have definitely met many of both people, and they are the exact same person. So that's the thing here is when there is divisiveness, it actually opens up the chance for solidarity and unity and coming together and being compassionate. Those who are moving towards that 5D reality, those who are practicing compassion, those who are choosing to be responsible and to take care of each other by wearing a mask, all of them are living in solidarity and unity. And because they are doing that because they are unified within themselves as well. When I go out and I see somebody with a mask, I think, hey, like they believe in being compassionate towards other people as well. They believe in taking care of each other as well. They believe that, you know what, it doesn't matter if coronavirus is true or false, but I'm going to operate off of the data that is there today, and I'm going to use that to be responsible and to be compassionate and to be caring of other people until there is data that truly shows me otherwise. So you can look at the mask issue as a polarity issue, as duality of mask versus no mask. Or you can look at it as, hey, like we know what's up. Like we're taking care of everybody, even if they don't want to take care of themselves. And I guess there is another aspect of duality that's going on, which is the light versus the dark. I think especially in the spiritual community, in the past, we were very focused on the light, and that's all that we put our attention on. We would completely disregard the dark and act like it wasn't there. And now the dark is surfacing and saying, hey, no, I'm valuable too. I'm important too. You need to shine a light on me so you can see this aspect of yourself. Otherwise, how are we ever going to move past this? And so now there's this battle of people who don't want to face that darkness that we all have. Again, as within, so without. Like we are all creating this shared reality that we have because we all have shared darkness. It comes in different forms, it comes in different amounts, but we must all be having it for us to be creating this huge consciousness that we're currently living in right now, this chaos that we're living in right now. And so there is this battle now between just focusing on the light versus like actually addressing the issues that we have that we need to work on. And we haven't found all of the darkness. We haven't shown a light on all the darkness in our collective consciousness yet. There is still more to come because it is a collective issue. It is something that every single person on this planet is going to have to address. And so while a lot of our darkness, a lot of the impurities in our society that we have shoved to the ground and tried to hide and suppress, now that even though it's coming up in a lot of the Western countries, the Western societies, there's still Eastern and Middle Eastern and, other aspects, other countries in the world that are going to have their turn as well. Like, again, this is something that is collective. And so we're not done yet with everything that is about to surface. So I'm glad that I remembered that light and dark duality aspect as well, because even though it seems a little disjointed in the video, it is going to segue into the next segment. So we talked about how there is solidarity. But again, it is a duality. So those who are in solidarity are living in their solidarity for the most part. But then on the side of those who are not, the side of people who are not being compassionate, who are not being responsible, who do not believe that Black Lives Matter, who will not wear a mask, even though data currently suggests that we should, we just should. And even if you don't agree with that, like still, do you not agree about at least caring for other people and like trying to do right by them, even if you don't agree with what is out there? So there is that side of things too, and they are living in a lot of duality. And again, duality, or they're living in a lot of divide. And again, all that division is eventually going to bring them to unity, or it's going to bring them to a form of extinction. So 5D, what we're all trying to ascend to, is about abundance, living in abundance with each other and having more than enough to share. And those who are not aligned with that, again, those who are not being compassionate, who do not care about Black lives, who will not wear a mask, who are being irresponsible. Those who are on that side, that more negative side, that survivalist side, have a scarcity mindset. They don't believe that there is enough to go around, and they don't trust other people. They're very mistrustful. They tend to be fueled by more hate. And They focus on trying to change their circumstances by fighting what's out there instead of working on what is in here. And that's a reason why I brought out the spiritual community who is involved and who is getting really caught up in the conspiracies. Like, they're not able to see where they are. That is clouding our third eye chakra. So those who have that scarcity mindset, who operate more out of hate, who tend to be more mistrustful, and who tend to try to control circumstances outside of them instead of working on themselves within themselves, working on themselves. They tend to do activities like hoarding toilet paper. Again, that is a scarcity mindset. That is saying, there is not enough toilet paper, I need to take it for myself. And not only that, I'm going to take so much of it that maybe nobody else will be able to have some. So that is a scarcity mindset. There is not enough to go around. And again, that is taking action instead of working on yourself. And here is why this is going to essentially destroy the duality that they're living in. That's going to destroy the scarcity mindset that they're living in. It's going to dismantle this side of the human consciousness equation. And that is because when you live in scarcity, when you operate more out of hate, what happens if you are now the only group that exists? If, let's say, you are a white supremacist, so you operate primarily out of hate, and you operate out of mistrust for others, and you operate out of that scarcity mindset. Let's say everybody else was gone and it was just you that remained, you and your group of white supremacists. What do you think is going to happen? Because you have now changed your outside circumstances, but you haven't changed your inside. You haven't worked on yourself. And so you're going to start to turn on each other. You're going to have the same mistrust that you had for others amongst each other. You're going to have the same scarcity mindset amongst each other. You're going to have the same hate amongst each other. And that essentially is going to lead to the extinction of that group. It's going to lead to that completely dismantling. So that is essentially what is going on right now. We have all these layers of division that are going on around us that is creating chaos. And all of those layers are reflecting how we are feeling within ourselves, how we are currently balanced or imbalanced. And those of us who are working on that, those of us who are caring about other people, those of us who are living in compassion are going to find that unity and that solidarity and go into that consciousness where there is abundance for all. Those of us who are not doing that are going to dismantle ourselves from the inside because we're not working on our inside, and that's just going to crumble. We're just focusing on the outside. So that is what's going on energetically in our world currently. And here's the thing. Mother Nature is giving us that chance to sit down and work on ourselves. Mother Nature has thrown out coronavirus, and here we are all having to look at ourselves deeply and evaluate ourselves and work on ourselves. And so when people in the spiritual community talk about this huge conspiracy of the powers that be and how they're the ones creating this divisiveness, no, that's not how it works. There is a conspiracy. The divine has created a conspiracy where we all must sit down and we all must look at ourselves and we all must evaluate who we are and who we want to be. Do we want to be that compassionate person that cares for others, or do we not? And are we able to live with ourselves in that way? And are we able to survive? And maybe I will do a video on the divine conspiracy that is currently going on. So this wraps up the video. I hope it was informative. I hope it gave you something to think about or reflect on, or maybe pointed some things out within yourself that you want to grow for yourself and your personal development. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy, liking, or subscribe, and I will see you in my next video.